I'm Scott.
I'm Jessie.
And today we're talking to you about blended families and what it's like to grow up in one. Now, Jess and I are both from blended families, and what that means is our family members aren't from the same bloodline, and we've got just a few questions for each other about what that's like.
Okay, so can you describe how your family is blended?
So, my family is blended because my brother and my sister both have a different dad from me. So they both have the same dad, but biologically different from my dad. And that's from a previous marriage. Jess, how about your family?
So my dad and mum are married, but before this marriage, my dad was married to another lady, and through that first marriage he has a son and a daughter, and then with my mum he has myself, my younger sister, but also my older sister. So that's how we're blended.
So Jess, how does your family blend together?
So essentially my dad and my dad and his family, so my half sister and my half brother, used to live in Hong Kong, and my mum and my older sister and my younger sister and I, we used to live in the Philippines. So when my dad and mum decided that they wanted to bring our families together, we all moved to England. How about yours?
So my family have always lived together since I was born, at least anyway. So my mother separated from my brothers and sisters' biological father before I was born, and then met my father, and then they had me. But I've always grown up as if we're one family unit. That's just, yeah, how it is.
So what's your family dynamics like?
So my family dynamics are like, not going to say normal family, but like your average family, I suppose. There's no real divide between my brothers and sister and my parents. It is, yeah, there's nothing different about it, and it's blended really, really well.
So you'd say that you all pretty much were raised the same way?
Essentially, yeah. We're raised as one family, but we live in the same household. We went on holiday together, we did things together.
Cool.
How about you?
Mine was really different. It was really difficult, a really difficult thing to come together. So we were all, when we all moved here, so I was about 6, turning 7 when we came to the UK, and by then my half brother and half sister were already quite, they were in their teens, and so they spent a substantial part of their life really without my mum, essentially. So coming into the household, I would say my mum, I don't think it would be the typical step-parent relationship that she had with my half-brother and half-sister. I would say it was more, I don't think they were quite as accepting, so I don't think we ever had that kind of household where we had, we were able to really establish that kind of dynamic within our family. Yeah. But my dad being my dad, my biological father, and my mum being my biological mother, from mine and my siblings' side of things, we lived a perfectly normal childhood and bonds, whereas with my half brother and half sister it wasn't quite as easy. How is your relationship with your half brother and half sister?
As I said earlier, exactly you would expect in a completely blood-related family. I wouldn't say that we act like we're, brother and sister brother, because we, well, I don't know how to say it, because we are, that's the thing, we are, we're going to be blood-related completely, but in terms of emotionally how we grow up together, we're completely family, and I think we're probably quite lucky to have that kind of relationship. Jess, how's your relationship with your brother and sister?
Well, I want to mention my relationship with my sisters through my parents' marriage, so my full blood sisters. We have a really good and close relationship, and I think that has a lot to do with our upbringing and the things that we had to experience growing up. I mean, like I said, we did grow up in a really happy and loving household, but I would say for the first few years of growing up in the UK, we did try to live as a blended family. Unfortunately, it wasn't something that could work out. So if I was answering this question back then, or back when I was a bit younger, I would say that my relationship with my half brother and half sister was really non-existent, and back then and up until a few years ago, I would say that I didn't consider them family, and there was still a lot of resentment that was felt, maybe largely on my side of things. But over the years, as we've all grown up, and my youngest sister, so the youngest sibling that I have, is now turning 21, so we're all older and we're all a lot more mature. We've experienced a lot more in life, and so now in our adult life, I feel like we are able to establish adult relationships with each other. So my half sister, I don't even consider her as half anymore. When I talk about her, I say that she's my sister, and I consider her very much a part of my life. She has a baby, and my niece, I don't consider her being my half niece. I don't know, do you call them that? But I mean, she's, you know, they're a very important part of my life now. My sisters and I, we still have a very close relationship. For my half brother, I would say that the relationship was a lot harder to establish, and I think only now in the last, would you say, year, we've been able to establish some kind of friendship or relationship, but certainly not something you would say would be how you would think a brother and a sister would be. But I'm still learning, because I've gone my whole life not having a brother, so I'm still learning what that's like.
Do you think your experience from growing up with a blended family has changed your view on traditional families?
I would say yes. Traditional families, to explain it a little bit more, would be, back in the day, traditional families would be mum, dad, children. Traditional families now would be mum, dad, children. So, you know,
anything.
Yeah, so that would be the traditional family. I would say not so much traditional families. It's not really affected my view on things. You don't necessarily have two parent figures to create great and good children. However, what it has affected me on is the chance of potentially having a blended family myself. So I don't look badly on divorce, and I don't look badly on blended families, but from my own experience, I think it's made me really cautious. My views on things like that has changed because of this fear that my kids could then go through what I had to go through. And so my views on blended families, I think, has changed a lot, and it's that I really wouldn't encourage it unless you equipped your children and yourselves with the ability to be able to make it work.
So it's not as if you discourage it, but you make sure that if people are blending families, they need to be aware of what the consequences and how, you know, to do things properly.
Yeah, I think it's like people need to be a lot more sensitive to the issue, because I mean, in the ideal world, you find someone, you fall in love, and you're happily ever after. If that doesn't work out, then you get another chance at that. But then you have these kids that you need to think about. But like I said, we have very different experiences. Mine was negative and yours was positive. But how about you?
I think that, as I said, we were very lucky in our family for it to go so smoothly and for us to have such a good relationship. I think that blended families are good. I think all families are good. You should be there for your loved ones, you know, be them blood or not fully blood. It doesn't make a difference, but I think it's very important that you do, you know, you are sensitive, you are honest and open sometimes, and sometimes not as honest and open as you could be, just to make the family dynamic work. And it's important that parents are mindful of how people interact. You think kids, when they're young and they don't really know their parents, or you know, they're not sure why things are happening, that can manifest itself in strange behaviour or upsetting behaviour or anything. You just have to be, I think all families have to be equipped and know what to do from experience or from trial and error.
What was the most difficult thing you had to overcome as a blended family?
I think the truth, actually, is the hardest thing to overcome, because, you know, when I was young, it wasn't fully explained to me how our family came about, and, you know, who was related to, we were just a family and I was brought up like that. And then the older I got, the more I was able to understand, so the more my parents told me about how our family dynamic was. So I think that's it. But as soon as I came to an age where I could comprehend and understand it, it all became quite easy to deal with. So what do you think was the most difficult thing to overcome?
I would say the most difficult thing for my family to overcome as a blended family was acceptance. So without going into so much detail about it, we grew up for a large part in the Philippines, and we grew up knowing that we had an older brother and an older sister in another country, and so we knew that, but we didn't realise that in all those years my half sister and half brother didn't know about us. So essentially you could call us the secret family. And so whilst we had a good few years to accept that we had another brother and sister from another mother, they didn't. So when we moved to the UK, we were moved into this one house after not being blended for most of our lives up until that point. And essentially, I love my parents so much, but essentially what they did was put us all in a household together and just kind of went, okay, well, this is your family now. And we were expected to accept that fact, even though we didn't know what life together was like. And of course, when you put any kid together with other kids and expect them to just live in harmony without knowing anything about each other, it's difficult. So we had to deal for many years with trying to accept our situation. They had to accept that my mum was a parental figure, and we had to accept these two brother and sister that were related to us by blood, but beyond that we didn't know them, and we just had to watch them not get along with my mum, who up until that point was our only parental figure that we had growing up. So I think for the most part it was accepting each other. What would you say is the best thing about being a blended family?
You know what, I don't know. Probably because the family that I've grown up in has been as if it isn't blended, because it's been so seamless, in all honesty. The best thing about my blended family is having my brother and sister, because if families didn't blend, then I wouldn't have a brother or sister. So I think it's as simple as that.
That's so nice.
What about you?
For me, I would say, so I'm Filipino, or my mum is Filipino, and my half siblings, they're actually Thai. So the best thing about having a blended family, I would say, is that we have brought all our cultures together, and we've learnt a lot more about, say, the Thai culture, and they've learnt about the Filipino culture. So
I feel suddenly uncultured now. So what do you think about my blended family?
do you know something? When you first mentioned about how your family was blended like mine, and in fact it is so similar because you have a brother and sister, and I have a brother and sister through our blended families. I was half thinking, oh, finally I've met somebody who completely understands like the drama that comes with blended families, because I assumed that that's what it was all like. When I first met you 5 years ago, I was in a really bad relationship with my half siblings, but seeing how you are with your brother and sister, and actually sometimes you get along better with your half siblings than they get along with each other, I'm very envious, is basically to put it down to it. But also I feel really blessed to be able to see it work. Your family make it work really well. And you?
I think seeing your blended family 5 years ago when we first met made me feel much more appreciative of my family and how we blended together. And I think that there's just a lot of potential in a blended family, and I think there's still lots of roots and relationships to explore there. And her half brother and sister, where she can have a really strong relationship with, and hopefully then with her. Jess's brother and sister are really nice people, and I hope that we can all get along as one big family one day.
Fingers crossed. I think there's a lot of healing that still needs to be done, but
We'll get there.
we've done a lot of healing in the last year. What advice do you have to give to any parents who are looking to blend their families?
I think have patience. Things won't always go to plan, but I don't think families will any family will ever go to plan, to be honest. Yeah, just patience, have understanding, and ensure that you're giving the support that your children need. Jess, obviously you've had a bit more of an interesting relationship with your blended family, so what do you think?
My biggest thing really is just to make sure that you're equipped to handle situations. You can't just assume that the kids know what's happening, no matter how old they are. People want to know where they come from and who their family are, and so you just need to be equipped. And by that I mean, you know, if it means you need to go to family therapy to be able to figure out the ins and outs of what's happening to the change in dynamics in your family and household, then so be it. There's nothing wrong with that. But even if it's something simple as when you first decide that you want to blend your family together, you sit all of the kids down and just explain and answer any questions that they may have or any fears that they may have, because a lot of change is happening and it might be scary for you, but you need to picture it from the point of view of kids who essentially it's not their choice what happens. So you have to make them feel like they matter and that their opinions and their fears are validated in some way.
Do you have any advice for someone who may be struggling to adapt to the change in the family, or is not really coping that well with the blended family, be it a parent or child?
I would say from the child's side of things, you know, if you have siblings, full siblings, or any siblings that you've grown up with, really take the time to lean on each other for support, because if anyone knows what you're going through, it will be them. As for if it was a parent, just really look out for any signs that there's any distress whatsoever. I mean, you'll know what your kids are like, and if there's a slight change in their attitude, or if they're not talking as much as they did, there's some kind of distress there. I mean, not all distress is evident in the form of, you know, a negative way, and ultimately really kids want to talk about how they feel or what's going through their time. Usually blended families happen when kids are in primary school, and that is really tough for them. So the last thing they want is for their home life to be difficult. Essentially, for kids going through this, I would say that time makes the biggest difference, and whether or not your blended family works for you, it's not the be-all end-all of life. And something that I wish I could tell myself back then is it's not your fault that it isn't working. Your situation's different. The important thing is that you handle it how you need to handle it, not how people tell you you need to be handling it. If you need some time to accept things, to understand things, take that time, because there is no pressure. There's no guidelines, and unfortunately there's no rule book or how-to guide that can really help the situation. The only thing you can really do is just trust yourself and know that things will get better. How about you?
I think that you just need to be willing to give people, and by people I mean your family, a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th chance. You've got to keep giving them the chance and keep, giving them a bone. You just have to be able to, give your family a hand and be there for them when they need it. And sometimes it won't go to plan, but you know what? We pick everything up, we dust ourselves off, and we start again. You've got to persevere, and you've got to be that one who's not willing to give up on your family.
Thank you so much for listening.
I've been Scott.
I've been Jessie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.